Welcome everybody to the Watch List, your virtual TV guide every Sunday here at the Latin Nerds Network, where we review all the movies and shows that come out on all platforms of streaming. Another great week. Well, not quite, but we'll get into that later. But I forget at the end of the show, we always go over what to keep an eye on as far as what's being released the following week so you can update your own watch list. That being said, I'll introduce my host here, who's always happy to see me because I am the superior fantasy football player. We'll get into that a little bit later. That is, of course, live from Houston, Big Bro himself, the ambassador of all things love, is Senor Jaime, a.k.a. Chewy. How you doing?
Hey, brother. What's going on? Happy Christmas Eve.
Is that what it is? How many is? I don't know. We're getting close. You know,
we're about 2 weeks away, so close enough.
Chewy's in the festive mood, considering he's on the outside looking in the playoffs in fantasy football. It is what it is. It's not a lump of coal for Chewy this year from the fantasy gods. It is what it is. But actually, before we get into what came out last week, we do have some very, very sad news. Of course, it's our in memoriam we have every so often, and sad to bring us tragic news in such a festive time of the year. But we do have to mention that, unfortunately, Cowboy Bebop has gone the way of Dodo, if we will, canceled officially by Netflix after just one season. A season which, me and Chewy, I think we were okay with the show. Nothing great. And I said at the time I could take it or leave it. And, okay, it got canceled. Doesn't bother me.
I left it. I left it. It just, the only character I cared about was the female cowboy, hunter, whatever.
John Cho, yeah.
Bounty hunter. John Cho was okay. He's good. The other guy was just
he was awful.
Whatever.
Yeah, he was terrible.
The story the tone was just all over the map. I don't know if we were trying to recreate. I never saw the anime, so I'm not sure if it's in anime. But what works in anime and works in live adaptation doesn't mesh. I'm sorry. Anime is anime for a reason, right? You can't take Castlevania, which we love, and make that as a direct port live action. It's just not going to work. The tone is just off. The story it's whack. It was just whack.
Yeah, I was a little higher on you on it, but again, I didn't think it was great. Like I said, if it got canceled, which it did, and it was got mixed reviews like crazy, right? Obviously, clearly they didn't get the viewership, and this is an expensive show. It seemed like an expensive show anyway. Much in the vein of Jupiter's Legacy, which was also mixed and an expensive show. And
I like Jupiter a lot more than this, dude. I'll tell you that much. So
this is more.
I'm not happy. I'm okay that this was being canceled because the story didn't do anything. It just didn't do anything.
No, it wasn't great. It wasn't great. I think it was bad. I was okay with it at best. It was entertaining for the most part, but it was not a great show. So hey,
well, rest in peace, John Cho. Hit that phone line.
It is back to White Castle. It is what it is.
There we go.
I'm hoping
love me some White Castle.
Hoping you can get some another show and get more stuff to eat later. So it is what it is. So, but let's focus on the shows that are going to continue. Well, at least the movies that are currently playing, and a show that will, I guess not continue. It's a show that's going to end this season, but we'll get into that in a minute.
We'll see.
But we start with that. A quick correction. I know I mentioned last week and I was incorrect. And being the Ricardos and Amazon Prime. Nicole Kidman and Javier Bardem playing Lucia Ball and Desi Arnaz. It came out in theaters this week. Limited release is on Amazon Prime the 21st. That's when it gets released on Amazon Prime. So when I looked for it, I was like, oh, wait a minute. That's what it was. So, we'll get to that in a couple weeks. But I did find a replacement movie in Amazon Prime, which I'll talk about. And I saw that popped in this week. I'm like, okay, why not? But I do want to talk one, since I had extra time this weekend. I saw a movie. I know Chewy did not see this. It's called Dos, or Two. But this is unlike Money Heist, Casa Papel, we got a true, translation. Netflix, good for you, translating the difficult word of dos into two. So this is a movie, very short film, like 111 minutes, a Spanish flick, where it's about, this couple strangers who wake up in bed together, and apparently someone had sewed them up by the stomach area. So they can't separate themselves and have to figure out why this happened. They're in this kind of room with no phone. It's almost like it's a combination of Gerald's Game meets Saw meets Human Centipede, and it's not as good as any of those, and that's a sad thing because Human Centipede was not good. Interesting premise. I like the idea. It's kind of a psychological horror, and it brought up a cool premise as they try to piece together why they're together for a reason. There's something very perceptive about the actual number two, scientifically speaking, what that means, and how important that number is. but then they kind of not follow through with that and then change gears and do something just utterly ridiculous and shock value and kind of gross to some degree. It just didn't work. I mean, yeah, it could have been something cool, but yeah. So I caught it, and also like, it's kind of a lot of people. It has this niche, and so a lot of people will gonna want to go watch. Yeah, I mean, it's an hour and 10 minutes, so like, if you guys really a lot, just a small time to kill and nothing else to watch, which I find hard to believe, put it on. Otherwise, I definitely don't recommend you guys watch this one. It just wasn't that good, to be honest with you. Another Chewy. I don't know if you saw this one or not. That's the Unforgivable on Netflix, which dropped this weekend with Sandra Bullock.
I did not.
Okay, Sandra Bullock. We got Vincent D'Onofrio, of course. We have what's the guy who played Punisher in the Marvel series?
John Bernthal.
John Bernthal. There we go. Thank you, John Bernthal. It's a little Marvel reunion. This was the Netflix is fishing for Oscar, right? Cast that line and see what they get. They've been begging for that for the last couple of years, and they've got a lot of nominations. I'll give them credit for that. This one seemed like it might be it. This is a very dark film. I think it was based on a limited series overseas, BBC maybe or something. But Sandra Bullock, she plays someone who just got released from prison after a 20-year stint. She had killed the sheriff in a small town near the state of Washington, and now she gets out trying to get life together and try to find her little sister, who at the time was about 4 or 5 years old, and she took care of her before she was sent away. So she got to find out what's going on, and now she's having a hard time because she's known as a cop killer, right? This one's got mixed reviews. Some people text me and say, "You gotta watch it; it's really good." And I hadn't seen it at the time, so I was kind of excited. So I was gonna watch it anyway. So I put it on, and it's fine. It's not Oscar. I tell you right now, if you compare it to Oscar films, I can see why the reviews were negative, because it's just not. Sandra Bullock is good, but she's a little understated. She's okay. There's this twist or reveal in the end, and I'll say this because I just don't understand. It's like how to set up proper narrative when you're trying to set up a twist, right? And I'll mention this too, and this is a slight spoiler, so if you really want to see it, turn off at 15 to 30 seconds.
Earmuffs,
right? I'll wave my hand when I'm done talking about this part. But they throughout the story, in the beginning, they start flashing back to when she killed the officer, right? And the circumstances behind when she killed the sheriff. They were trying to take her house. She didn't want to move. There was like people there. And
can I take a guess at where you're gonna go with this twist?
Why not? Go ahead.
It was a little sister.
Yeah, of course it was little sister. I mean, I knew it from the first, like...
I'm not the one doing, but what you said, I knew where this is going.
That's what I'm saying. It's so calculated. And it's different. If you're going to show us a flashback, show us, put it together. Don't just show us a little clip and then later on show a little bit more of it. That's just a clue. It is so blatant when you do that you're trying to set up the audience. Either use the flashback at the end to reveal what really happened without foreshadowing it, or just show it as if it's just plain Jane where she killed the officer. Just show it. We know what happened. She got convicted for it. Just show it. So when you don't do that, you just like, hello. So it's like it was a little forced. It was fine. It was okay. I'll wave, man. No spoiler. It was okay. Again, it's not a terror movie. It's just very obvious one. It's well done, but it doesn't really hit the mark. So I take it or leave it. As far as I'm not going to recommend it or not. Recommend it or not recommend it, but it's really up to you. But I don't know, buyer beware with this one on that one. The one I saw that popped up on Amazon Prime was Encounter.
With Riz Ahmed.
Yeah, Riz Ahmed, right? Who's been in kind of a role. He's actually a very underrated guy. He was in another
great actor, man.
He's a great actor. He was I don't know if you saw, but I know people really like this film, Sound of Metal, which is also on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
Great movie.
Great. I mean, movie was okay, but it was a great performance.
Great performance by him. He was fantastic in that.
Yes.
Really.
He was also in a limited series on HBO. Might have been HBO. I'm not sure. I don't think it was HBO Max at the time. I don't know. Either or. It was that limited series where he was the accused killer. Yeah. Right. I can't remember the name of it. The Night Before, something like that. They had John Turturro.
Right. The guy from Friends or whatever. Yeah. I got you. Yeah, no, you're right. Exactly. I forgot about that. Good point. I mean, he's really good.
And also, you can't forget, not Solo. Sorry, Rogue One.
Right, Rogue One. I was like, Solo. Don't.
Yeah, no, not Solo.
Let's not. Defame the name of Riz Ahmed. There's just no respect in that. But he's really good. He's good in there. I'll start with that because he's a great actor and he's the best part about this film. But I got hooked because I almost got invasioned here with this one, because Invasion Apple Plus series, which promises an invasion and gives you no invasion. So go figure. This one here,
if I got to interject, since you mentioned Invasion, that's been renewed for season 2.
Listen, I ain't talking about invasion.
I whatever.
I don't want to get an invasion. Just makes me mad. But this one here. So the premise is that I guess what they're trying to say. I didn't see any promotional materials, the trailer, so I'm not sure what this was promising. So I don't want to say I got bait and switched like I did in Invasion. But I mean, look at the tagline, which is why I saw it. I guess Riz Ahmed, he's a ex-military, ex-forces, and he's trying to get his kids and save them because there's some kind of alien invasion coming in the form of like a parasite, right? Which invades human bodies, and he's obviously trying to get his kids as safely as possible, right? He's heading back to base or whatever. They're trying to find out how to fight this new invasion or whatever. And I'll say this because this is not necessarily a spoiler, but the whole invasion aspect is in his mind, right? And he believes there's something going on. He sees things that clue him into like, oh my God, there's these parasites, and he's studying parasites and stuff like that, and how they cause and how they can react to the body, et cetera, et cetera. And he gets his kids who are living with his mom. But the thing is, he is ex-military, but he just got out of jail for, I guess, he was court-martialed, assaulting his officer, or whatever, a commanding officer. And he's suffering PTSD and all that. So in his mind, that's what's going on. So it's not really a sci-fi flick. So if you've seen the promotional materials and that's what you're expecting, turn out don't. Doesn't mean it's not good. But it's a good film about him, trying to get his kids, and his kids finding out that his dad's made a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Good ending, decent flick, just not a sci-fi flick. Even some of the critics were saying, "Oh, this mix of sci-fi." There's no sci-fi here. It's because in someone's mind he thinks it is. Doesn't mean it makes it sci-fi. It's not. It's a good drama, and I really wish it would have leaned in heavily on that aspect, and maybe at the end the twist would have been, "Oh, it's all in his head," but they revealed it kind of early on, so this is nonsense from the beginning, which is fine. So either lean into it or not. So it kind of play both sides, play a little bit safe. But it's a decent flick. And look, Riz Ahmed's great. He's a great actor, man. He really is. No one talks about him. He deserves his due. So I did kind of enjoy this to a certain degree, knowing what I knew going into it, that it was not going to be a sci-fi flick. So I did not quite get Invasions. But if anybody's seen the trailer and you saw it, a different reaction, if it's promised that, then I get, the bait and switch, which we hate, as a la Invasion. Not just with the story, but with this guy's name from Jurassic Park. Sam Neill.
Yeah, I was about to mention Sam Neill, where they still advertise him as Sam Neill starring. The guy dies in the first episode.
Yeah,
and he doesn't show up again. Now in the I was like, what the hell?
It's total bait and switch. I hate when shows do that and movies do the same thing. So. Yeah, he's in for one episode, and I remember him dying. Whatever, I don't even know. I was just bored watching that show.
He died. He got hit with the alien that was hidden on the ground, and that was it.
Okay, I see. Maybe if I don't know that, but still, why promote him? He's in. Whatever. I didn't want to get into it.
They don't even go back to that town. The rest of this. I finished watching this season. They didn't even go back to Oklahoma. I mean, they stuck with Japan or Tokyo.
So why bring? It's just...
the guy in the Middle East ended up in the UK and hooked up with the little kid. And yeah, it was just, and then I was in the family in New York, right, with the two kids. Right, So but whatever. Anyway,
whatever. Not a good show. I really hated that show. But let's talk about a show, Chewy. I know you're watching one that we've been big fans of for a while, and that's The Expanse. Of course, the sixth and final season, at least as we know the show to be.
With the question mark.
Yeah, for at least this iteration.
The final season on Amazon, that's for sure.
Correct, right. So when it pops up somewhere else, whatever, we'll discuss that later. But it dropped, only one episode dropped. There's only going to be 6. So I was hoping I get to binge this one. Obviously, that wasn't the case. We got one. So Chewy, you're the bigger Expanse fan than I am. Your thoughts on the first episode?
I think it was a very good opening, right? The opening salvo of the 6. And what I liked about this particular episode, where the stakes have risen, where last season we had Mercanar was succeeded in his attack of Earth, right? And through the I don't want to say rocks, but whatever. They had crashed into Earth, about 3 at that time. Mm-hmm. But and there was so much focus on individual characters. They didn't give us an idea of the bigger picture, what's really going on Earth, right? This was a big deal, and I think they gave us an opening montage where they made this clear. I mean, these attacks have been ongoing for months. The biosphere is gone to shit. I mean, we got nuclear winter, so this wasn't a couple strikes and okay, some people died and everyone's going back to their merry lives. Right. No, and so you get the stakes that this is serious and this is world ending. Might have not been one world ending event, but through a combination of this happens so many times. Like Aristotle said, every time a rock hits, a little piece of the earth dies. Literally, the earth is dying because of this, right? If you can't grow food, and people can live there, there is no future on that planet. And so that's what laid out the stakes and laid up obviously how Mark Bernard is basically taking over basically the whole outer planet, right? They show all these states, the Tycho Station, Ceres, Ganymede, and they kind of did like an overlap. Okay, now they show where all the free navy is. So basically, they got control of the solar system. Earth and Mars are stuck in the middle because of what's going on. And so that's where we are now. So I think it kind of laid out and they gave us a snippet of the future beyond this season, right? Where the opening cold, it was a cold opening.
It was a cold opening, right? Yeah.
Yeah, showed a little girl, where we later found out to be the part of it was the planet Laconia, which is going to be the Laconian Empire. And so she's like and she's been there a while because she's named all the animals that she sees and the plants and everything. And you get a sense of the different flora and fauna that are part of this planet. So obviously it's an alien world. One of the birds gets sick, she takes off, and then they do a complete kind of walking back the camera all the way to space, and you see I think where we had the ending shot of season 5 where there was some sort of ship machine building something out in space, and so they bring it up, and you obviously see it's progressively more than when we last saw it at the end of season 5. And I think we know that it's about 6 months, 7 months after that those events where we pick up the story in this last season. We get definitely, there's a tone, especially right now where everyone is they look beaten, they're tired, they are obviously still dealing with the grief of losing Alex last season. Basically had a stroke saving Dominic Tipper's character. I can't remember her name now. But whatever. But so they're still dealing with that, right? It's just, oh, he died. Okay, great. Let's move on. No, obviously there's still it was a family. It was a unit, and you lose a quarter of your family. You don't just get over it in a month or a week or a month. I mean, it takes time, right? But you can't grieve because basically you're in the middle of saving your life. Everywhere you turn. Yeah. I mean, every belter is coming after them, right? Because they've even upped the bounty about it. And they've kind of laid the seeds, as far as, there was a couple lines in there where Monica was interviewing Sarala and asking her, can you remind her that these are her constituent, not her subjects, right? So she's not, king of the Earth Empire. She's voted in. But we got on the other side Mark Renales, who's kind of acting like the leader, but could give two shits about the people that fell. Where they're at Sirius Station, everyone's saying Marco, it looked like a Trump rally. he gets up there and he declares Sirius the capital of the outer belt empire, right? And the very next scene, I guess his first lieutenant is asking him, tell him, seriously, and the administrator says, hey, we're going to starve. It's not a matter of if, it's when, right? And and the guy comes out, what should you get? And she's like, okay, man, we don't waste people anything. I'm like, wait a minute. This is your empire. Like, you don't care about your people? It ain't going to turn out well, dude.
Yeah, he's obviously,
that's not how you stay in
power. He's hell-bent on his power trip and just the revenge factor, right? It's fine. Good start. I'm not going to say it was a great episode. Good episode. It was a good setup. Hopefully
very tense.
Yeah, tense. Again, set the tone. Set off what we should expect. Because with 5 episodes left and this being the ending, quote unquote, I assume full speed ahead, right, for the next 4 or 5 episodes.
Right? There's no
room for filler.
We've seen that.
Yeah, we got the characters that have been developed. Let's now conclude like we saw in Hannah, like we saw Lost in Space. Just get to the gist and let's finish this off. So, but it's a good starting point. It's a really good. It's a really cool show. And we'll probably circle back on this one once it's all done. We'll discuss the final season in its entirety in about 5 weeks or so. So right around the New Year.
Right at the New Year, and hopefully we get. Hopefully by then we get more news of what their plans are beyond, because they've kind of said, the writers, Ty and Frank, and even the executive producer of the show have said, okay, we obviously they kind of summed it up. They got to a point that where fans are going to be happy, right? Because when it got canceled, they were like, it's like, when they cancel something too early, right? You don't get the satisfying conclusion. And the way they wrote these novels and they created this world, they did it in series of 3. So each one is basically its own compact 3-part series, right? So the first first three seasons, obviously the second three, and they're going to bring it to a satisfying conclusion. But there's something going to be more beyond this, whether it's movies or keep up the show. There's something they're laying out the clues. They're not just dropping and saying, "Oh, this is a great run. We're ready." They're not doing the double D's where okay, we're done, we're out.
No, right. The goal, that's what I'm saying.
This is their.
The goal is to finish it and finish it
This is
properly.
their baby.
Right. This is their. Yeah. They know where they're going with the story, but like Game of Thrones, and it is what it is. But again, I don't want to be upset this morning. It's a festive day today. I don't want to ruin my spirits of toxic invasion and Game of Thrones and all this other fucking nonsense out there. But yeah, it's a show that obviously we would recommend, and I hope, like I said, hopefully ends well. This one we're definitely gonna circle back, good or bad. Because with finales, in the final season, I like to discuss how it ended in bad or good, right? Because this is a big deal, right? This is all about how can you stick the landing, right? That's the important piece. If you can't stick the landing, you wasted 5 seasons of goodwill from the fans. So
6 years of my life,
right? So it just ended well. It's not the end great, just end well. We're not asking for the greatest thing in the world, just to end properly where it makes sense and things come together and etc. So. Fingers crossed on that one. The last thing I want to talk about, this is not a new show, but we brought up last week because we both decided to take the plunge. We got AMC Plus, right? So now there's 7 people who have this network now, AMC Plus. So we're glad we can, give AMC a little bit of our dollars. But it's not a big, obviously this is not Netflix, they're not Amazon Prime, but you're right. There are a lot of, AMC does put out good product, good shows, and they have for a long time. They don't have the notoriety that obviously some of these other streamers do. And AMC Plus is fairly new, maybe a couple of years, maybe not even maybe a year.
I mean, like, all we have to say, AMC gave us Breaking Bad.
No, Breaking Bad.
Okay, I mean,
hello,
Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul. But for better or worse,
2 years of Walking Dead.
But Walking Dead is still a very popular show, and that through AMC. If you really like it or not, it's still very popular. I get it. Fine, fair enough. There's a lot of good shows, The Killing and whatever. Gangs of London recently.
Hell on Wheels was
Hell on Wheels, another good show. Yeah, so they do a lot of good stuff. So there's one that came out that caught my interest and you brought to my attention. So I'm like I said, this is a very light week. There's only one Expanse, the only real show that came out. So got time to finish up some things, catch up, and that's all. Let me watch next Kin, which is only 8 episodes on Amazon Prime. This is a organized crime drama. We've seen this 1,000 times, and I get it, but we love it anyway, right? So this is a particular family who it's in Dublin, who are into
Irish family,
and they just rival gangs, and they have they're partnered one with the big dog in Dublin or in Ireland, right? Who provides them the supply of the drugs, and they sell on their behalf. And circumstances arise out of a tragic retribution that occurred, and now the family finds itself, in upheaval and trying to survive because they're gonna get hit from all angles, particularly their ex-partner anyway. So this is very reminiscent of most crime thrillers, organized crime, that are back alley treaties and treachery and killing, assassinations. It's all there, right? All you come to expect. I'll say this because this show is 100% Rotten Tomatoes, right? Which is why I don't like Rotten Tomatoes, because sometimes it's a little bit misleading. But that being said, it doesn't bring anything new to the table, right? Like even I'll say Gangs of London, which is again has some of the same tropes that most other organized crime shows do, right? But it gives you something visceral that we don't normally see on TV, right? Particularly this show. So at least it brought something new to the table. This doesn't do that. But that being said, it's a really good show, though. I get why everyone likes it. Charlie Murdoch.
Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox. I'm sorry, Charlie Murdoch. Mixing up his Daredevil name.
Yeah.
Oh well. So Charlie Cox, who plays Murdoch. He's in it. It's funny to see
Matt Murdoch, by the way, not Charlie Murdoch.
Charlie Murdoch or Matt Cox or whatever. So whatever. But he's in it. He's one of the main. He's probably the biggest, most notable name. There's he got Littlefinger from Game of Thrones.
Well, Aidan Gillen, who played Littlefinger. Right. I mean that's his best.
That's basically exactly. So yeah. But yeah. So listen, it's a really good show. I ended up finishing it. It's very intriguing. It's very well done. I'm not saying it's great. It isn't The Sopranos or anything like that. But it's very good. If you have AMC Plus, you haven't seen it, I definitely think you should watch it. My only complaint,
8 episodes.
Only complaint the last episode. It ended well, but I don't know if it was more an homage or they're just ripping off The Godfather, because there's a scene at the end. Did you just finish seeing it out of curiosity?
Okay. No. I'm taking my time. I've only seen 2 episodes.
Yeah, I saw like one a day and 2 and then once. But I mean, I started watching it Sunday, so it gave me a whole week to finish it. But I saw the last one yesterday. So, but that being said, there's a scene in the end where the resolution of the first season is coming down, and it's such. I had a bad taste in my mouth. Such a blatant ripoff what
So,
happens
so, so,
in
so,
Godfather.
like you said, rip up, like they made you an offer you couldn't refuse,
No,
or
this
was
is
there
like
like a horse in the bed
okay.
incident?
I
Or,
say this. It's very, the scene in the Godfather where Michael Corleone took over, right, and he's getting everybody's
okay.
getting whacked, right, and he's in church. Right, he's in
Ah,
the
okay.
baptism in
Where,
church, and he's like the name of the Father, and
yeah.
all he's showing people getting killed, and that juxtaposition between that. So something very, very similar to that, and it's even
Okay.
filmed the
Okay.
same way with a cut with, and I won't say who, but the main character at that point, the character's taking a huge arc when, and this character, I'm careful what I say here, is the best part of the show in terms of the arc, the good story here, and where they begin and where they end up. But yeah, same thing where they kind of flash back to this retribution and they're in church. I mean, it's just, I
Okay.
mean, like I said, it could have been an homage. I don't know. It was weird. I didn't like that.
I think it's probably an homage
It could
because
have been, but it was
obviously,
just so blank. But whatever. Look, that being said, it ruined the show. It's still a very cool ending. You know that's kind of where it's heading to. But I recommend it, man. It's really good show out there, and I was surprised I really enjoyed it. I assume season 2 is coming at some point. It got, like I said, 100% Rotten Tomatoes
I would assume so.
says it all.
Yeah.
Again, don't take the 100%. Think 100% must be amazing. No,
No, that doesn't mean it's clear it's like it.
right? But I
Doesn't
mean,
mean that it's,
your mind just grabbed.
it's all
It was all right there.
relative. It
But
could
when you
be
see that,
all
you just look at the number.
three
Yeah.
plus 3.5 out of 5, and they'll get 100% because it doesn't mean it's 5 out of 5.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but you gotta look at that number and look at the audience, how many people in the audience like it, and look at the reviews and see, okay, yes, it's. I kind of give it to is it north or south of the Mendoza line, right?
Oh no, it's
How
definitely
good it
yeah.
is up to what each one's interest and what they're paying it. So it doesn't mean it's 100, it's great. No, it means a lot of people like it. That's
Yeah,
all.
I think by a lot of people, and it's natural. Just basically Rotten Tomatoes, you're so trained just to look at the raw number, right? 100%. Oh my
Yeah, you
god,
see
it's
number
amazing.
99,
Everybody loves it. Oh
98.
my god, and it
Yeah.
could be everyone just giving it 6 out of 10. Okay, which makes
Yeah,
it okay.
exactly.
So it's but no one's trained their mind to that. So when you see 100, oh my god, it's got to be amazing. You just can't help but think that, right? And that whether it's right or wrong, you just your mind gravitates to that. So no, is it 100% good? No. But it's a pretty good show. It's definitely worth a watch. So definitely, you're gonna. Like I said, it's good. I think it's better as the show progresses, and you'll see, when you get to it.
Awesome.
But that being said, so that's this week's releases and this year's releases. I think King came out in October. But that being said,
Oh yeah, it came out.
yeah, October. So,
There was another show that came out this week that we had failed to mention because I just happened to caught it. It's an HBO Max. It's a limited series. It's a 4-part, so it's very short. It's one of these biodramas. It's called Landscapers, and the premise is basically a couple. They're a married couple. They essentially, and they got convicted, and they're serving 25 years to life in a British prison or in the UK. But basically, they killed the parents, or the wife's parents. Basically, took over the property, the money, used it all up, and when they ran out of money, they took off to France. And once in there in France, a year later, the secret came out of what happened, and they actually came back to answer for. And so basically, it's kind of retelling that story. But this couple is very quirky. It's weird. It's
I saw the trailer.
I saw the first episode.
It looked cool.
There's only one episode,
Yeah.
right? So it's weekly for the next 4 weeks. But the narration, what makes it interesting, obviously, biodramas are interesting because it's true life, right? True crime dramas. But the way that they've done this show is that when they start doing narration and you do flashback with the events, it's done literally through one of the characters speaking to the camera, but as part of the scene. And so again, a little unusual storytelling narrative method that you don't see it in other places too often. Because they can go sideways real quick. But this is done where it's interesting and they keep it light, but it's still serious subject. And that first episode is good. It stars a lady who's in The Crown, I guess, one of the main characters in The Crown, and has Professor Lupin from Harry Potter. We've seen him in so many. He's that guy kind of thing. He's been Harry Potter. He's been in so many different movies and shows. You've seen him. You'll recognize him. And yeah. And so, I mean, I threw it out there. It's a quick limited series, so, but it's HBO Max. They usually generally do a good job.
It looked good, so I was like, I'll probably catch it this week. Well, maybe not this week, because this week's actually the biggest week we've seen in a couple weeks, right? In terms of things are getting released. And so we'll start with the first 2 here. One is on the 13th on AMC Plus. We just talked about AMC Plus. Another show comes out called Firebite. Chewy, what's this one about? You mentioned it. I didn't get a chance to see any promotional material on this. So what's Firebite?
This is a fantasy vampire
Oh, I'm
show.
in already.
So,
All right, sold.
there you go.
That's all you have to say.
It's coming out. I don't know if it's any good. I haven't seen the trailer, but I just read the snippets. I was like, okay, well, I have AMC Plus. I just kind of peruse what's coming soon.
Yeah,
Oh,
let's see.
okay.
And I think
Okay, cool.
does
Good show.
NC Plus
Yeah.
do weekly or was it binge? And I don't remember.
No. It's no. It's weekly. They don't.
Okay,
Binge.
it's week.
It's weekly.
So it's one
Yeah.
episode to watch. Okay, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now I mean, before I was like, whatever. Now you sold me on that one, on this one. So great. Another one, HBO Max on the 16th is Station 11. There's another kind of
Another
futuristic
limited
one, right?
series.
Or is this the one like the
Yeah. This
the
is
pandemic one?
this is the end of the world
Okay, all right.
apocalypse. There's been something's happened, right? And so humanity's trying to survive. Limited series on HBO Max. So this sci-fi dystopian,
Okay.
genre.
It's HBO Max. That's all. At the end, that's all need to be said, right? HBO Max usually hits more than any other streamer, in terms of quality, not quantity, right? Netflix has a quantity. But looking forward to that one. On the 17th, we got a couple of things. One is a show we've been looking forward to. It seems like forever. Man, I think I've aged like 10 years since season one. Of course,
coin to your witcher.
tossing that coin.
A valley of plenty, a valley of plenty. Oh,
Henry Cavill comes back as The Witcher.
Geralt.
Which is, I like the first season a lot. I'm not saying it's a great show or anything like that. It's a really good show. Good, kind of like in the vein of a Lord of the Rings and all that, right? I would say.
Speaking of coins,
My dog is tossing a coin to The Witcher. Much respect for you, Henry Cavill. But yeah, so that comes out at 17. Looking forward to that second season. We got on Hulu. We don't mention Hulu very often, and we got a movie coming out. Chloe Grace Moretz, of course, Hit Girl, and the most known for it is called The Mother Android, right? I think it's a film about. It's another one where it's us versus AI, right? Something to that effect,
robots.
Right?
Yeah,
new concepts. Yeah. Hulu. The last movie I remember watching was Boss Level, which I really enjoyed. It's a fun movie for what it was. It's kind of Groundhog Day meets action. It was actually it's actually decent, kind of a fun flick. So. And I, Chloe Moretz here. She started off great with movies like Let Me In. Matt Reeves directed that one, and then Hit Girl. But then from there, she's been sputtering around, taking some really shitty roles. So whatever. I mean, it's on Hulu.
She was in not Sorority. What was the one with Seth Rogen and Amy? Yeah, that one where they live next to a frat house.
Neighbors 2. I think it was Neighbors. Yeah.
Yeah, Neighbors Part 2. Yeah, it was basically a female version of that. So
whatever. She's done a bunch of other crap, and it's whatever. It is what it is. I don't expect much out of this one, but I'll give it a shot. You never know, right? Boss Level wasn't really much. I was like, okay, and ended up kind of liking that movie. The last one is on Netflix. This actually comes out on the 18th. It's a Saturday release, which leads me to believe it's probably going to be something like an Arcane, like either weekly or a few shows every week. That's what I'm thinking. I've seen Netflix do this, particularly with shows, and it's a Korean show. This is a Korean show. It's called Burgasal. Immortal Souls is what it's called. It's almost like a fantasy period piece. And I read the thing. It says, a cursed since birth and exempt from death, a revenge-driven immortal sets out on a quest to reclaim his soul and the end of a 600-year-old vendetta. So it's almost like a revenge story spanning hundreds of years. It looked cool. I saw a trailer. It was only they released a quick 1 minute trailer, so they don't give a whole lot away. I've been a fan of this Korean stuff that's come out lately, so I'm looking forward to this one. This one might get a lot of attention, so hopefully that could be interesting. So there we go. So there's a lot of stuff here. 1 movie, 4 shows. So that's, and it's in Firebite. That you got me, the whole vampire thing. I'm so sold on that. And a couple sci-fi things, and of course The Witcher. Nothing else. Just The Witcher. So if you that show, it's a show. If you guys haven't seen it, go back and watch the first season. It's really good. If you're into that kind of fantasy kind of thing, right? If that ain't your bag, I get it. Don't bother. But if you like in the fantasy, good show and all that. So
that's good fantasy. Had a dragon,
No, it's a fantasy magic, and
had some monsters and magic. Yeah. It had a little timeline, storytelling. Way of doing it, where obviously they're integrated.
Yeah, it was very non-linear narrative that I had at the beginning. I heard this was really more straightforward, which I'm fine with. Because now we established all these characters, we can move forward. What's next? But yeah, looking forward. That's a show I definitely recommend you guys go back if you're into that thing. If you're not into the fantasy, I get it. No matter how good you hear the show might be, you have to be into it. You have to buy into what's going on. Ultimately, at the end of the day, almost like a Wheel of Time kind of thing, right? And this is a much darker show than a Wheel of Time. But that being said, so that's the week, and we got next week a lot of stuff to dive into. So we're excited about that. Hopefully, a little fanny on the playoffs this week. Fingers crossed, things go well. A couple weeks before Christmas. Next week, we are dropping next episode of Thanos' Choice, or Christmas Spectacular, if you will. I don't want to overset it, but what the hell, right? Someone has to. So looking forward to that. We'll be discussing 6 Christmas films and narrowing down to just 1 out of the 6. So I'm excited about that, of course. I figure we got Nurse Planning on the show. Go Die Hard, Christmas movie, through and through. But that being said, that's today's show.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. What is it? The Chronicles of Narnia. Someone said that. You read that. I was like,
the Chronicles of Narnia. I saw that. Like,
Christmas movie. Nonsense. If it goes to snow in the film, doesn't make it a Christmas movie. Let me just lay it out the groundwork right now. All that being said, hope you guys enjoy. Appreciate you guys watching it. Subscribe below, like, share, of course, the usual. We're here every Sunday, catching you guys up on all this stuff on streaming. My pleasure, Chewy. It's good. I would say good luck, but you're not playing this week in the playoffs or whatever. Hello.
I have other leagues.
I know you got other leagues, but this is the only one that counts at the end of the day. With that being said, a pleasure. We'll see you guys next week.